not, he doesn't love her, but as I told you, she is the goal. She is the goal to reach her. And during this chapter, Bounderby has moved to a new state, a new house that is taken from the person character called Nickets. It is not mentioned so many and doesn't have any kind of role. But what is important about this is the name itself, the Nickets. Nickets is called in linguistics, it is called anagram. Anagram. Anagram is the playing with letters of the word. Playing with the letters of the word. For example, if I have a word gram, G-R-A-M, I move A at the beginning to the beginning of the word and becomes agram. Agram. This is called the playing with the letters of the word is called anagram in linguistics. So this person, I mean this name is taken from this, Nickets. And he was in date for Bounderby. So Bounderby takes this kind of opportunity and, you know, to take over the house. On the other side, Harthouse wins Louisa's confidence. And Bounderby has acquired, as I told you, a countryside house near Cooktown. He explains to Louisa who Harthouse, I mean here, explains to Louisa that all politicians are hypocrites and liars. And this is true. I mean, this is true, and this is irony. When Harthouse talks about the hypocrisy of politicians and their lies, but at the same time, he is showing himself, that he is different from the others. He is honest in his intentions. And you know, when a man gets heated, when a man, a young man especially, when gets heated, when he talks to a lady, a woman, he will turn everything into reality and he becomes the idealist person. يعني من يحمى، يعني شخص من يحمى شايف ايش يسوي، يعني يسولف يأله نفسه. What we have today in our life. So the same is for Harthouse. He is heated and tells Louisa that he is not like the politicians. He is honest and not playing with her. But in fact, he is not like this. He likes entering her confidence and showing her he knows her true feelings for her husband and her brother. On the other side, Louisa also seizes this opportunity and she tells him about Tom's gambling dates. You know that Tom right now is playing what? Is gambling. And this makes him lose his money. And now he is in date. So she talks to him to help him paying his dates. So Harthouse talks to Tom and offers help, but this is not sincere help. And while talking, Tom tears up Rosebuds as he talks. You know rosebuds? You know the word rose?
No.
Rosebuds, the leaves of roses, the leaves of flower. Rose الوردة. And the buds, yes, the buds is the leaves of the rose itself. So sometimes you have seen on cartoon or movies that when a person takes the bud, especially in the romantic movies, when the character says she loves me or not, and then he takes out a leaf of the rose, and so on. So Tom here is taking out, tears up the rosebuds, which symbolizes, which is important here, symbolizes that he tears up the his life. Tears out his life while he's taking the leaves of the rose. And in fact, Tom gambles that Louisa has not raised more money for him. And Harthouse persuades him to be nicer with his sister. There's a question. There is a question here about the role of Louisa. There is a question about the role of Louisa here. Do you think that Louisa encourages Tom in gambling? Yes, Bashar?
No, she doesn't.
Sorry, again?
No, she doesn't encourage him.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bashar. What else? Who has any other idea?
Yes, doctor, he not encouraging.
لازم ما شايفين الفصل. عاشت ايديكم.
سؤال الدكتور.
Never talk, Adi.
Doctor, the end he don't say the money and he lost with Mr. Bonderby.
Zainab, I didn't get you. What do you want to say?
Yes, doctor. What?
I didn't get you. What do you want to say?
In the end, Luisa don't say money and he stole.
No. This is before stalling.
And
before stealing, sorry. Before stealing.
He don't encourage her.
No. This is before stealing money. He gambles before stealing money. And he was on dates. Yes, Ade?
Yes, doctor. She want to help her Tom. When Harthouse meets Tom, he told him gently that he need to be grateful for her sister, and he will help with the whatever and what if you should.
Yes.
Small smile.
Yes, what do you want to say?
Sorry, to his sister. He promised for doing. I mean her to help her sister or him sister help your brother Tom.
Yes, Ade?
Yes, doctor. That's idea. my idea.
No, sir, it is not clear.
سمعوني بابا ولا لا؟
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay. So again, back to my question. In fact, Louisa has two aspects in this. She helps him. I mean, she encourages him to gamble because she has supporting, giving him money to gamble, and she knows that he is going to be indicted for the gamblers. This is one aspect. The other one, this is she encourages him because, you know, the brotherhood, the relationship of brotherhood between them. He is her brother, and she has to help him. She has to help him in this respect. But the first one is more. I mean, the first reason is greater than the second one. I mean, she cannot give him money so that he will be unable to gamble. The narrator here stresses that Harthouse cynicism. Cynicism means a kind of wickedness, devilish, and being cunning. It is not different from Gradgrin's materialism and Bounderby's utilitarianism. You know, his behavior is not different from Gradgrin and Bounderby. All of them are working for their benefits, taking advantages of others. So Harthouse is worse of them. And as I told you, all of them deny all human and spiritual values. And we hear that, this is a quotation, it was as much against the precepts school to wander as it was against the doctrines of the Gradgrin's college, which means that his behavior is as worse as Gradgrin's educational system. There is no difference. Gradgrin brings up children, educates children in a wrong way, wrong ideals. Harthouse is similar, also deceives, seduces Louisa to reach for a goal. So there is no difference. Both of them, they are trying to kill the spirituality within those children and Louisa. But Louisa in this moment welcomes or likes Harthouse views. Why? Simply because these views reassure that her father was right. Because they are both what? Their views are similar to each other. And when you hear, for example, the views, similar views from 2 or 3 persons, you feel that they are right and you are right. For example, if you consult, ask someone for advice, and the first one tells you that it is good, the third one tells you it is good, and so on for 3 or 5, you feel that you have what? It is good. You cannot say and go against them. It is similar like this. Louisa right now, she feels that her father's policy and strategy is good. The gunpowder trail here indicated also a reference for the early days of Louisa's training. But in fact, Harthouse worse than a normal seducer. Why? Because he is lacking vitality. He plays with Louisa and experiments on her father as her father did with his system. Yani they are making experiments. And the tag name for Harthouse is powerful familiar or a devil. As part of irony here, Harthouse offers to help Tom with money, just too late to save him from robbing the bank. You see here, he doesn't help him before robbing the bank because he intends this, but he offers his help for Tom after the robbing the bank. He wants him to be complies, to be part of this robbery. And here the red roses, as I told you, this is a symbol, a metaphor, are contrasts to Tom's whiteness when he hears about bankers. He becomes white of fear. Tom's tearing, as I told you, the rosebud symbolizes the waste of his life and maybe Louisa's life, because sooner or later Harthouse is going to neglect Louisa. The second chapter, chapter 8, Explosion, which is related with the previous one. And here we have Harthouse smoking his pipe. Yes, Riyad, do you have something?
Yes, Ustad. Can you explain?
Explain what?
أنا
ما سمعك رياض.
explain the chapter
Yes, if you can.
that matter of Mr. Harthouse for Louisa is not for love, but he is bored with everything he done is in his life, and he tried to gain her confidence.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Riyad. In fact, this chapter, the explosion, as I told you, it is related to the previous chapter because we have gunpowder, and whenever we have gunpowder, we have explosion. And the explosion here, this title has two purposes. First, to relate the bank robbery, and to show Louisa's growing fondness, love for Harthouse, and her continued awakening to the realization that something is missing from her life. Okay, so early in the morning, Harthouse congratulates himself on his power over Louisa's feelings. And suddenly there's a news about that the bank has been robbed and 150 pounds lost, taken. It is not a big sum of money, but for the poor, they are big. Bound up by suspects Stephen Blackpool. Why? Because he has been seen loitering near the bank with the old woman, and they believe they are what? A kind of gang. Louisa also had a shock. Why? Because she suspects that her brother has done the robbery. And so Tom goes to his room. At night, she lies beside him, and he was crying. He does not but cry, weeps. And also, Mrs. Bassett calls Louisa Miss Gradgrind and trying to get over the household. A question, why do you think Mrs. Bassett calls Mrs. Louisa Miss Gradgrind rather than Mrs. Bounderby? Yes, Benin?
Yes, sir. To take over the household.
No, yes, I said this, but the question is why she doesn't call her Mrs. Bounderby, but she calls her what? Mrs. Gradgrind, as if she is not marrying
Yes, yes.
Bounderby.
Yes, sir.
Riyam?
Yes, sir. To clarify that this marriage is not successful because this reason, this opinion in the first time about this marriage.
Okay, thank you very much, but I don't think so. This is the yani, correct view, because you know the first thing we know that Mrs. Sparsit has a view that Louisa doesn't deserve Bounderby, and she loves Bounderby, and this is part of the jealousy. This is part of the jealousy of Mrs. Sparsit towards Louisa, as if she feels that Louisa has came and taken over her place. This is one thing. The other thing that she feels that there's a gap. There is a gap between Bounderby and Louisa, and she's trying to get within in this gap. Okay, so the bank robbery is an effective plot device that is yani, invented by the writer, and this includes most of the characters of the novel: Bounderby, Harthouse, Mrs. Sparsit, Bitzer, Louisa, Stephen, Mrs. Begler, and Tom. And Tom's have put the blame on Stephen as his plan. And blame on and this kind of a blame connects two main strands of the book. The first one involves Gradgrind's family and the theme of education, and the other one, Stephen and Bounderby, and the theme of industrial labor. Because this shed lights on the failure of Gradgrind's educational system, and also the policy that is followed by Bounderby with the workers with the hands. Bounderby here is more upset by a front of robbery than by the sum involved. So the lines about Tom's despair, which is a quotation here, rejecting all the good in the world, imply that his soul is in danger. And Harthouse sports with Louisa is plainly said to be devilish, because he is amusing himself rather than seriously trying to help. Amusing means spend some time for a kind of entertainment, not real relationship or serious relationship. So Mrs. Sparsit, unwillingness to say Mrs. Bounderby, remind us of Mrs. Gradgrind's inability to say Josiah. When he first engaged, asks Louisa's hand. In addition to that, Harthouse misnaming Stephen as Black Boots, which is a reference for his indifference, degradation. Also, we have in this chapter a reference for a fanciful fairy story image, when he playfully pictures the old woman, Mrs. Begler, his mother, flying into Cooktown on a broomstick like a witch. This is a jest, and it is a clever, ironic touch. There is another ironic touch in the fact that the gang that met in Stephen's lodging included Louisa, Tom, as well as Mrs. Begler. In chapter 9, entitled Hearing the Last of It. Hearing the last of it is Mrs. Gradgrind is about to die. And the title here has a dual meaning, two meanings, which is the last of Louisa's determination to remain away from Hart House. And the second, the last of Mrs. Sparks' scheme, a plan to be again the respected housekeeper in the Bounderby house. Mrs. Sparks here doubts about nimbly spying on Louisa. She is what? Spies on Louisa and Hart House. And in the time of the presence of Bounderby, she kisses his hand. But when he is out, she looks at his portrait picture and calls him Noddle. Meanwhile, we have Pitzer here arrives with a note, a message that Louisa has to visit her mother, who is about to die. She is dying. And Mrs. Gradgrind is dying vaguely as she has lived, because we have no other details about Mrs. Gradgrind. She's invisible. When Louisa's youngest sister Jane comes in with Sissy, Jane was happier than Louisa because of the influence of Sissy. Mrs. Gradgrind wants to send a message to her husband to say there is something not in Ology science. But she has no pen, but tries to write the missing word of wonderful, no meaning, with her hand on the bedcloth and dies. She dies without writing the words. Mrs. Sparks' successful efforts to take over the role of housekeeper results in Louisa's depending more on Hart House. Hart House now spends more time with her. And this chapter shows this kind of odd relationships between them. It begins with an entertaining picture of Mrs. Sparsit as a witch. She can move about the house fastly. And Mrs. Gradgrind here has been always invisible, a mere bundle of shawls. Invisible means that she has no real role here in the novel. It is a static character, not a dynamic, the one that develops. She doesn't interfere with any serious action, or she doesn't appear in any important events. Her invisible writing of wonderful, no meaning gives a truly uncanny effect. And the closing lines where she assumes in death the dread solemnity of the sagas of patriarchs. This memorable scene here, where Mrs. Gradgrind does indeed hear the last of it, has attracted much critical comments. One of the critics says, Mrs. Gradgrind, as a mother, denied her maternal role. And this is fact. even the role of a mother as a mother, she does not take that role, because we haven't seen that she has talked to her sister, daughter, children, or even to the husband to change his policy, to change his strategy with the children. So she is very static and never develops. The wonderful no meaning is an ironic reference to Gradgrind's abolition of everything but fact. And this prepares him for his eventual recognition of the power of loving heart. In the end, Gradgrind is going to recognize the role of love, affection, emotions, feelings. Chapter 10, Mrs. Sparsit's staircase. Here, Mrs. Sparsit, due to her deep hatred, and, you know, anger towards Louisa, she imagines that when Louisa comes down from upstairs to the lower stair on the staircase, as if she is what? Going down to her doom, to her destruction and shame. This is what is in the mind of Mrs. Sparsit in this chapter. The staircase here, as I told you, is a metaphor for Louisa's desired ruin. Sparsit imagines a physical counterpart for the younger woman's downfall. And every day the mental vision of Louisa's imminent ruin entertains her, pleases her, makes her happy. And in this, Dickens emphasizes Mrs. Sparsit's limited creativity by having her think up a completely obvious symbol. Also, it emphasizes her malicious, devilish nature through enjoining the destruction of others. She started here to enjoy picturing Louisa, as I told you, walking down a great staircase. And she cannot believe, for Louisa, cannot believe that Stephen is guilty. And morality is taken only as talk for Harthouse. In this chapter, as I told you, Mrs. Sparsit spies, you know spies, spy comes from the word spy, spies on Louisa and Harthouse, and overhears when he confesses his love for her. And this kind of, as Dickens said, it is a poetical, the image is a poetical, though she is not a poetical woman. While the iteration of the image shows us Mrs. Sparsit's growing obsession with the prospects of Louisa's downfall. And Dickens here also takes advantage of it to increase suspense, our suspense, the reader's suspense, using the next chapter lower and lower for as a title. The last chapter for our lecture today here is lower and lower. It is clear from the title. It means the downfall. Mrs. Sparsit is hiding. Here's Harthouse, tells Louisa he loves her. And Harthouse has tricked Tom In what way? To keep him away from him and Louisa and the house, on the plea that the police is searching for him. She has rightly guessed, Mrs. Sparsit guessed that Harthouse has his plan to be alone with Louisa, so that she spies. And she feels happy that she hears that Harthouse saying his love for Louisa, because it is her dream, her image is going to come true about her Louisa's downfall, and this is what she awaits for. She wants her to downfall, to fall, and to get her place again with Bounderby. Dickens here in this chapter continues to have fun with fanciful images of Mrs. Sparsit. She was described as a witch, Cornelius' mother, a dragon, and in this chapter she becomes Robin Crusoe, hiding in the woods, because she overhears Harthouse and Louisa talking in the garden. And you know Robinson Crusoe? Do you know? Do you know or you don't?
No.
Robinson Crusoe is a movie, Baba film. Robinson Crusoe.
Never heard of it.
It is one whose boat has been destroyed on an island. Then no one comes to rescue him. He lives on this island for several years. When he gets old, then the rescue comes to find him that he was very old. So she becomes like Robin Crusoe, hiding in the woods. And as the tension stress increases, the characters begin to speak melodramatically, more effective. Harthouse is with Tom's sister now. This is Mrs. Sparsit to herself. Even though the weather here, the environment here, becomes melodramatic. On the night of Stephen's dream, there was a heavy rain, and Mrs. Sparsit also in the garden spies with all this rain, and as a consequence, as a result, she becomes sick and got flu. This is the end of this lecture, and this is the end, and I guess this is the last lecture for you in the second course, as we have been informed, because the department informed us that we are not going to take any further lecture. I expect that we are able to cover the whole novel, but you are lucky here. So all what we have taken is included in the exam. Yes, Mustafa?
Yes, sir. I just want to, if you could re-explain how Louisa was some kind of responsible for Tom's robbery.
As I told you, yeah, because easy money. You know this idiom?
Yes, sir.
In English there is an idiom, proverb, يعني مثل اصطلاح يسمى easy money. When you have easy money, it is easily to be spent. يعني الفلوس اللي تجيك بغير وجع قلب تصرفها براحتك. The same for Tom. Louisa takes money as part of her help for her brother and gives. But we cannot guarantee when she gives money, she knows that he is going to gamble or not. But as I told you, she helps him and encourages him to go deep into gambling because he has a source to get money. So why not he is trying his chance in gambling? This is the idea here. Is it clear, Mustafa?
Yes, sir. But still, she is
Okay.
not direct. She's not a direct someone who really encourages someone to do a robbery or something. She just passionate. She is being passionate with her brother. She wants to help him with money. She
Yes.
knows. Yeah. So
Tom misuses the money.
this is how she treats her brother. So if this question came in the exams, sorry, how shall I respond to it or answer it? Yani, shall I say yes? She encourages her brother, and she was a direct responsible person for Tom's robbery, or what should I say exactly?
If you analyze this situation, you can take it from two sides. The first side, as I told you, she encourages him because she gives money without paying attention or what is the consequence of this. And the other thing that it is not permissible. She is not allowed to take money without permission from Bounder By because this money is not hers. It is Bounder By's money. So we have two reasons for Tom's aggravated guilt or gambling. As I told you, the easy money that is given for her for any reason. Well, I know. If she feels very emotional towards her brother, she will not give him money. And on the other side, the money is not hers. The money belongs to Bounder By, and she has to consult him before giving any cent, any penny. As what we have here. For example, Mustafa, can you take your father's money and give it for example to any of your friend without your father's acknowledgement?
Of course, no. Of course.
Yeah, the same is this. So we have two sides. We have two sides. She has taken the money which doesn't belong to her, and she encourages on the other side Tom's gambling indulgence because he receives money, free money. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I totally understand. Thank you very much.
Yes, Riyam.
Yes, sir. I want to know about one thing. I don't understand it. What is Mrs. Gradgrind want to tell her husband before her death? It's about the wrong way to education to his children. I mean, this reason, is it clear in this novel or not? Because I don't understand
No,
this.
no. The words are written here by Mrs. Gradgrind.
Yes.
Shows her invisibility. Shows her invisibility. Invisibility means she is not active character. She does not participate in the main, as I told you, main events. So the Dickens here he says, even the words she wants to write in a letter to Gradgrind, also invisible, written in the air,
Yes.
on the bed. It is not the wisdom is not in the words themselves, but in the way they were written.
Yes.
In the way they were written, the words are invisible.
We not know about the events.
Yes, we don't know.
Yes.
It is similar to her character. Her characterization is built by Dickens as invisible. She doesn't develop. She's not dynamic, as I told you. Character.
Yes.
Her role is very limited, so that he calls her as invisible character.
Okay.
Is it clear, Ryan?
Yes, clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question, comment, addition?
أستاذ بس بعد سؤال.
Yes, please.
أستاذ بالنسبة أنت قلت يعني بالبداية بخصوص المادة يعني إذا ما كملناها راح تبقى مسؤوليتنا نكمل يعني
No,
باقي.
that is not a responsibility. لا.
Okay.